Clark.
My debut 1990 September, Bristol City away. To get that opportunity, what thousands of Geordies only dream of.
Lee Clark 1-0.
Williams.
My first goal for Sunderland away at Leicester was a left foot volley. I didn't realise my left foot was for kicking the ball with it as well. I thought it was just for standing it.
Williams for Sunderland.
Hignett.
Playing against Chelsea and to score the first goal there is something that still lives with me now, and it's what most people will talk to me about.
Hignett with the ball. Go on, Higgy. You beauty. You Scouser Teesside beauty.
Worshipped every weekend. It's the three legends. Banter and rivalry across the Northeast. On the Toon, the Cat, the Red.
Yeah, it is Friday. I was going to say it's 5 o'clock, it's time for Cracker Jack. It isn't, it's 6 o'clock and it's time for the three legends. I'm sure you guys remember
Three Cracker Jacks.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you said that, Daz. But two of you are going to be D-Mob happy. It's the last game of the season for two of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not wrong, mate.
Well, we all went for 3 wins last week as well. Come on, Daz, man.
Yeah.
Sort you all out, will you?
Tell me, mate. Honestly, unbelievable, mate. Can't believe it. I'm letting you down. I feel like I'm letting you down, lads, honestly.
Well, it's not. Listen, it's not the first time, Dad, so don't feel sorry about it.
Hey, Higgy, it won't be the last neither.
Oh, brutal.
Well, I think your chances of getting Latte are well and truly gone, mate. He doesn't want a relegation battle next season.
It's it's Real Madrid now for him, isn't it? He keeps scoring.
Well, he can't stop scoring, can he?
Player of the
I bought
month
myself
as well,
a latte just to cheer myself up.
I was going to say, he will stop scoring now. He's got Player of the Month from the EFL.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, that's a downside to that, isn't it? I mean, he could have had a couple at the weekend. I mean, they absolutely battered Cardiff. Cardiff were really poor.
Yeah. Poor, mate, aren't they? Poor.
Yeah, they were. But listen, Borough were rampant, and I was pleased for young Alex Gilbert, who, you know, he's waited a long time. He's been in and out a little bit. That was his first start. He got a great goal, brilliant finish. Got a man of the match performance as well.
Yeah.
So he's had for him, it's always good when you see a young lad come in who's been at the club, who's been in and out, had to wait and bide his time. And Michael Carrick was full of praise for him after the game. You know, said he'd applied himself really well. He'd obviously been disappointed he hadn't been involved a bit more. But when he's got his opportunity, you know, he's took it. So it could be a really good end of season to him. He can go into the summer really happy with what he's done. But you know, so can Middlesbrough. But again, Daz, you know, have you seen the game? I mean, the goal that Middlesbrough conceded, if they can stop playing out from the back, and whether they will or not, I don't know. Listen, I don't know.
They won't.
But it was absolutely ridiculous. It was ridiculous. You had Luke Aylan who dilly-dallied on the ball, passed it to Dieng. I don't know how they were trying to play out, but Cardiff rob it. Square pass, open goal. They score, and that spoils what would have been a brilliant day. To get a clean sheet on the end of that would have topped it all off. But honest to God, some of the goals that they've given away this season, and they've had a brilliant end to the season. There's no doubt about it. But if they can stop with them stupid ones, you know, they could have been so much better.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a lot of things we've said, though, mate. In it, you know, it's like you know, giving away stupid goals like that, you know, injuries, etc. It's been a funny season, I think, personally, for all three North East clubs. I think it's just been a weird season. I mean, obviously Newcastle have still playing with stuff, but I just think it's been a very, very weird season. Injuries, stupid goals, stupid decisions from clubs, you know, to sack managers and this, that, and the other. It's just been a very strange season all year.
But it's the inconsistencies as well, isn't it? So the inconsistencies of both the teams in the Championship. You know, Borough started, I don't think they won in the first 7, and then they went and won 7 on the trot. And then they were always up and down, and then they've come good at the end of the season. So, you know, that Championship, it's just such a weird league. And it has been, you're right, Daz, it has been this season. You can't, even the top 3, you know, looks like Ipswich are going to pip Leeds, lads. So we've definitely put the mockers on Leeds, haven't we? By saying that they'd go
we
up.
Killed them. We
absolutely murdered them. But they can't, even the top 3 at the end of the season didn't want to win it, did they? You know, they kept doing the best to give it to the other teams, but none of them took advantage, and in the end, it looks like Ipswich, which is a great story, by the way. It's. I mean, Kieran McKenna's done a fabulous job there. If they can get over the line, what an achievement! That'll be back-to-back promotions.
Yeah.
But it's just been such a strange season. But we're filled with optimism
for me about
now.
that. I think the annoying thing for me about that, mate, they're talking about, where's it, he could move on, he could go to a different club. Just let him enjoy his time, of potentially getting up in the Premier League. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's crazy.
Well, we all know what's going to happen, don't we? Ipswich get up.
Yeah.
They don't win a game in the first however long it is, struggling with results, and more often than not, the manager goes. It's just ridiculous. I mean, as a manager getting promotion, you must think, oh no. Because it's unforgiving, isn't it? The Premier League. Once you get up, if you're not quite at that standard, and listen, it's a big ask for Ipswich because they kept quite a lot of players who were in League One with them. So it's going to be an ask for them to compete.
I was going to say that as well, Higgy. I was going to say, like, they've got these clubs that come up. There's got to be some sort of regulation where they've got to sort of invest. I know they're wanting the Premier League money to secure their future, and I get all that, but take example like Sheffield United. They're just like cannon fodder. You know what I mean? They're just getting battered week in, week out. They haven't brought anything to the Premier League, whatsoever. Like, I watched the game against Newcastle, and it's just like they've got nothing, because what Sheffield United done, ridiculous. They got promoted, sold their best two players, and then brought lads in who had no experience of playing at the highest level. So it was like, what are you thinking? Why have you done it? And when they come up, it's like it's a tough watch for everyone. It's a tough watch for me watching them. I'm not got no allegiance to Sheffield United at all. So you like to think that these clubs that come up, I'm not saying go and break the bank or anything like that, but give yourself a bit of a chance where, look at Burnley, who Newcastle have tomorrow. They're the second bottom. They've lost a lot of games, but they've always been in those games. They look like they've played well in a lot of them, and they've created chances. They've missed chances. They've probably, been a bit weak defensively, but, they're still coming and getting some kind of results here and there, and they've given themselves a bit of a chance. Same with
Luton, you see the gulf, Clarky, between Burnley and Sheffield United. Sheffield United are on minus 63 goal difference.
Yeah.
No, Burnley are on minus 32, but that's like half. The goals that they've conceded, it's in the 90s,
over
isn't
100.
it?
It's
over 100 now?
I think it's went with that result at the weekend, went over 100 goals.
I mean, that's unbelievable, isn't it?
It is, and I'd love Ipswich to do it, because when you think of a club doing it, come straight from League One into champ and then champ of the Premier League. And by the way, I think they've got to. I think it's done. I think it's done, because I went to Huddersfield Birmingham last Saturday. Wow. I think us three could play for Ipswich tomorrow and get 3 points for them. From what I've seen at Huddersfield.
Huddersfield must be bad then.
The only problem Ipswich will have is if they've got any kit my size, that's all.
I'm sure the mascot won't be using his. You can get that one on.
Honestly.
No, but it'd be a great story, wouldn't it? It'd be a great story for Ipswich to go and do that back to back. It's a real tough achievement.
Yeah,
when you look at it, I think next season, I think the Championship will be really hard. I do.
Yeah.
I think, if you look at the ones coming down, Sheffield United, Burnley, maybe Luton, Forest, maybe. Luton and Forest, that's going to be the games to watch, aren't they?
Aye.
Because they're right at the bottom, a point between
interesting
them.
one tonight, isn't it? With Luton and Everton tonight. Everton are safe.
They've gone well, haven't they, Everton, the last few games?
Yeah, been terrific. And I know Sean won't want them to just take their foot off the gas, but psychologically they might, and then that gives Luton half a sniff, doesn't it? So
yeah.
And then obviously you've got Burnley home to Newcastle tomorrow, which we'll talk about later. But I think that's still a tough game. So it's still there to be done. The relegation issues at that level.
Just the thing that happened this week, Daz, get your opinion on it. Will Still has left his club. Now, I don't know whether he was sacked or whether it was a mutual thing, but do you see anything in that? Or is his chance gone?
I mean, there's been a lot of talk, mate, about it. Obviously, he's come to the forefront again, obviously, because he's left the club I believe it was. I think they had a bad result, didn't they? Did they get beat 4-0 or something? And I think they've kind of parted ways in a sense. But I don't know. For me, mate, listen. If he comes in, he does well, great. But I don't think he's the man for the job. I don't know whether it's a serious thing or whether it's just trying to build up a bit of hype. But we've touched on it in numerous weeks. This should have been done and sorted before the end of the season. Do you know what I mean? Something should have been in place. A manager should have been in place. He should be working with the team now. He should be instilling a lot into the club now, where we're looking at the players that who we want to keep. Because potentially at this moment in time, we've got the last game tomorrow, and then basically after
that. Doesn't that point to that? The powers that be, the sporting director, the owner, and whatever, they're thinking that the new head coach doesn't necessarily have to say so in who's being kept and who's being released, etc. Because I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you, mate. I think someone should have been in assessing that squad, and then he makes the decisions who he wants to keep, who he wants to offer new contracts to, and who's getting released, or who do they want to put up for sale to maybe try and raise a few quid. But it doesn't look that way. It looks like Dodgy's going to stay in the role, and then the club look like they're going to then make the decision themselves, isn't it, in terms of the retained?
Yeah. Well, pretty much, mate. Yeah, but for me, you've got to, we've got to kind of see it from the players' point of view as well. Do you know what I mean? The players are unsure on who's coming in. Do you know what I mean? They don't know.
Yeah.
They might potentially bring a manager in after, let's say, for instance, a player's left the club, because he's unsure on what the situation is with the club and where he's going. So obviously he's chose to move on. Might bring a manager in that they might have thought, bloody hell, if I'd have stayed, I don't mind him. He's a good manager. He could have pushed us on. We could have got further. This, that, and the other. We could have moved forward. This is all up in the air, mate, and it's just constantly been this season.
Daz, do you think they know who the next manager's going to be, or do you still think that they're searching?
Yeah, that's the question I was going to ask. That was the question I was going to ask, actually.
I honestly think they don't know. I really do. There was talk of Speakman moving. Well, this is the thing, mate. You hear your names all the time. Obviously, random names get thrown about, but obviously Kev Phillips, Defoe, Will Still. Do you know what I mean? Heckenbottom was in there at one point. Now Heckenbottom's gone completely quiet. There's been not a word said from the club. And this is the thing, mate. Everything's just up in the air. It's just kind of like people throwing a name in there, and then everybody's jumping on the back of it. Do you know what I mean? And there was talk of Speakman moving on, early in the week. But it's just so much uncertainty, and I just think, if that's your business, and if that's what you do, if you're the chairman or if you're the owner of a club, surely you want to get a bit of clarity out there, and just think, well, we know where we're going, we know what we're doing, this is the direction we're going to go in, this is the man we've chose for the job, and then I think everybody right, okay, you've chose that man for the job, let's get on with it, let's see where we go. But at this moment in time, mate, it's just like we're going to finish the season. Again, unsure on who's going to be in. Again, unsure on who's going to stay. And it's just like they've had the end of the season awards. Obviously, the players have obviously got the accolades, etc. And now all of a sudden you think, well, where are we going then? What we doing next season?
Yeah.
And it's just so
I think
much
that's the thing from people looking in. There's been no communication at all, or there's been no update on this is where we are, or this is how we see it going. And I think that frustrates fans, when clubs don't come 100%. out and they haven't said anything for a long while.
You touched on it, Higgy. You touched on it when you were just talking about the Borough before the start of the show, and you mentioned there's a bit of a feel-good factor around Borough. There's been a positivity towards the end of the season, and with the opposite side of the scale with Sunderland, it's all doom and gloom. The results, they've slipped down the table. I mean, they're not, it's not going to happen, but they're closer to the relegation zone than they are the playoffs, it's just been an awful couple of months, really. Well, it's just been a downward spiral since they made the crazy decision to get rid of Tony. Yeah, it's just went from there, hasn't it? And it's got gradually worse. There's been a couple of positive things in there, a couple of odd results, but in the main, it's just been a downward spiral. And you know, it's tough when you're wanting people to go and renew season tickets, and we do know, you know, Sunderland, the fans go out in their numbers, even when they're outside of the Premier League. But it's a tough ask if they're not seeing quality players and a quality manager or head coach, whichever his title is, come through the door. But then they're still being expected to stump up big money to get season tickets, etc. You know.
Well, this is the thing, mate. You know, we've been at a 9 million loss this year, apparently. You know, so obviously that's increased. You know, so you're forever thinking like, where are we going? What's your direction? Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, put something in place. Let's get something in place now. Let's get it sorted and let's crack on over the summer. You know, this is where realistically for the staff, obviously the backroom staff and obviously the people upstairs, this is where your season kicks in, and this is where all of the important business is done. But it's just silent. It's silent, and I think everybody's getting frustrated because nobody's piping up, nobody's saying a word. You know, and you think, well, you know, we've got to have some sort of direction. We know we're a big club, but we're not being a big club at this moment in time.
Not behaving like a big club.
No.
Yeah, I think the only, without sounding, you know, too dramatic, I think the only thing big about Sunderland at the minute is the amount of the size of the gates they get, the fans that are coming through the terraces 100%. And obviously the stadium's fantastic, but like you say, that's not being replicated on the pitch. It's not being replicated in the quality of the squad. And obviously the work that should be done in appointing a manager. And like you say, there's obviously been speculation about Christian Speakman potentially going. He got linked to Lyon earlier in the week. I've seen his name linked with the sporting director role there. So it just seems to be, you know, this, I don't know, it's they're young across the, like, everybody at Sunderland's really young, isn't it? The owner's young. Christian Speakman's is young for technical director. Dodsy's interim manager is young. The players are young, and it's like there's not a lot coming out the club. It's just, you know, it's the silence is deafening basically. So it's, I mean, you're up against the form team as well probably tomorrow. Chef Wed have been on a terrific run, haven't they?
I mean, potentially we could finish 17th. Do you know what I mean? This season, 17th.
Well, I seen a quote today. If Chef Wed were to win, Chef Wed will end up being 2 points behind you at the end of the season, come the total. And when that guy Roll, is it Danny Roll, the German guy who's took over at Chef Wed? When he took over, the day he took over at Chef Wed, they were like at 9 or 10 points adrift, but Sunderland were in the top 4. That was a stat I seen the day. And if Chef Wed beat them tomorrow, could end up being 2 points behind them. Just shows you how things have gone for each club, hasn't it?
We've got some messages coming in. Sorry, go on, Iggy.
Sorry, Daz, Dave. Did I read a story that Sunderland were thinking about downsizing?
That was a Newcastle fan.
Oh, was that a Newcastle fan who put that out?
Yeah, it was.
Because it caused murder. I'd seen it, and I thought, what? That can't be true, surely, because the crowds are like 40,000 every week.
Yeah. It was on the back of Newcastle. It was on the back of Newcastle's release about the current stadium situation and increasing the capacity, wanting it over 60,000. So a Newcastle fan on the back of that then pushed out that on social media about Sunderland downsizing.
Did he push that out on a Sunderland account?
Not on a club account.
Or did a Sunderland account just pick it up and go with it?
Yeah, I don't know.
They probably just picked it up and ran with it.
That's brilliant, isn't it? I mean, listen, Newcastle have absolutely tortured Sunderland this year, haven't they? With the stadium getting done out in Newcastle kits and all this stuff coming out now, they've just had your lives.
It's what I'm saying, mate. It's been such a weird year. It's been such a weird season, mate. Honestly, you couldn't rate it.
What was the game? Go on, Dave. Sorry.
Go on.
I was just going to ask Daz what the actual game was like. I mean, it doesn't sound a great one. Watford 1-0, but...
Well, he missed loads of chances, I think, Sunderland, didn't he? I've seen the chances, Daz.
Yeah. I mean, so again, mate, chances, you know, and... You know, we've gone on about all season, mate. You know, we haven't got a striker. You know, that's the bottom line. We haven't got somebody who's got, you know, he's in the right area at the right time. You haven't got that person with a deadly finish. If we did, mate, you know, the chances as we'd have come out of it on top, but it was just so lacklustre. It was like, you know, it was like previous games, mate. You know, we dominate, and then concede. You know, and it's just like. It's the same old story, mate. There's a lot of possession domination, but as we know, possession doesn't win you games. putting the ball in the back of the net. That's where it counts. And unfortunately for us all season, we haven't managed to do, well, for most of the season, sorry, we haven't managed to do that.
We're going to take a break very shortly. Daz, can I just take you back to the conversation you were just having with the lads there? Simon Daines has pinged a message. We're live on Facebook, by the way, on the Cat, the Red and the Toon sites. So
not Dainesy,
Sunderland fans, Newcastle fans, Borough fans can put their comments in on Facebook Live on respective pages. Yeah, Daz, it's Dainesy. Hope you're well, mate. Who would you like to see as Sunderland manager next? And also, how would you sum up Borough and Sunderland's season?
Borough and so well, we said it. There wasn't a lot of let's be honest. Sunderland's season's been very, very up and down. I think Middlesbrough's season's been up and down, but they've kind of turned the corner and come out of it and battled through it with kind of with what they've had. They haven't brought people in. They haven't changed it much, and they're finishing on a high. Sunderland's is just been. For me, it's been a poor season. It's been a very poor season. We've struggled. We've struggled with the squad size. We've struggled with not having experience. We've struggled with not having a striker, and now we're struggling going at the end of the season with who's going to be manager. A lot of uncertainty around who's still going to be at the club with players. So from my point of view, it's been a very disappointing and a backward step, really. I think we were moving in the right direction with Tony Mowbray. I feel like obviously Tony's obviously poorly, and we know that, and obviously he probably wouldn't have been involved with the club towards the end of the season anyway. But if we'd have kept hold of him, then who knows? But for me, I think we've gone in one direction and Middlesbrough have gone in the other.
It's an interesting one. We've got more comments coming in for the lads. We're going to take a short break, but if you want to be part of the show, you can. You can comment on the Facebook pages: the Cat, the Red, the Toon, the Cat for Sunderland, Toon for Newcastle, the Red for Middlesbrough. You can send us a WhatsApp into the studio as well. The number is 0330 043 2002. That number as well as a WhatsApp message is you can call the studio on WhatsApp on your normal phone. The number again, 0330 043 2002 if you want to talk to the boys. We will be talking more. Obviously the game's coming this weekend and Newcastle will be doing that next.
It's the three legends across the Northeast. Clark, legend. Williams, legend. Hignett, legend. WhatsApp us, call or send a voice message. Banter at its best. 033 00 43 2002.
Right across the Northeast, the Toon, the Cat and the Red.
If you'd like to get in touch with the lads, you can. The all-important number for WhatsApp messages, WhatsApp calls into the show, or a normal phone call into the show, 0330 043 2002. That's 0330 043 2002. Or you can stick a message on Facebook Live. We've got a couple. Stu Gawley's in Canada. He says, evening, lads. Thoughts on next season for the three teams, please? And Mark Knott says, it's hard every season. The quality coming down is amazing. But it is, after all, the same for every club. So, still thoughts on those dropping into the Championship for the Sunderland and the Borough fans, lads?
Well, I think for Borough, it's like because the end of the season has been so positive. I think everyone's looking forward to what's gonna happen in the summer and people who are coming. I still think they're short, Dave. I do think the 4 or 5 may be short. They've got a couple who they're not sure about. Luke Ayling will be one of them who. His future will be up in the air, and there'll be a few clubs I would imagine who all want a bit of him. But if Latty Lath can keep up the form, and it looks like he has, he's been quite consistent over the last 10 games or so, 11, 12 games. He's got 10, 11 goals in 11 games or something like that. It's unbelievable, his stat. He scored a lot of goals this season, even being out injured, so if they can start the season like they finished it, they've got a right chance, because the start of the season's everything. If you get off to a good start, it sets you up for the rest of the season. They didn't do that this year, but I think the squad itself wasn't or isn't that strong, or it wasn't as strong as the squads the season before, that's for sure. They lost a lot of goal scorers and couldn't replace them. But I think next season it's looking quite positive. I think get the right people in. I think this year they've probably finished a little bit higher than I thought they would. I think they've been really respectable. If they do manage to finish 8th, then great. But it sets things up nicely for next season.
I think with Sunderland there's a lot of uncertainty. I don't think I think the fans are anxious. I think they're not sure on where the club's going, what direction it's going in. Obviously, very obviously unsure about the manager, and obviously a bit of anxiety is kicking in about who's going to stay. Our players going to move on. Whether that's up, or even in the same division. And I just feel like I say, I just think someone needs to come out with a bit of clarity, because you're going into the summer with uncertainty for players, uncertainty on the manager, uncertainty on the club direction. And I just think it'll have a knock-on effect if things ain't sorted out as soon as possible. And unlike obviously like Higgy said there, Middlesbrough finishing the season strong, Sunderland are finishing it very, very lacklustre. I wouldn't say poor, because I think we're creating chances but we're just not scoring goals. But it's the very sombre mood and very, very lacklustre in the way we're going about finishing the season off. And for me, that only it doesn't spell right. It doesn't sit right with me. And I think somebody's got to come out and point us in the right direction.
In terms of when part of the question, Dave, that was asked about some of the teams coming down, being strong. For example, I think if Sheffield United down already, going to be big changes at that club, listening to what Chris Wilder was saying last weekend, so that might take a while for all their players sounds like he's going to be a busy man, players out, players in, so big changes, that could take a while for them to gel, so not too sure that they can be as strong as they probably want to be. I think if Burnley were to come down, they'll be very strong again, like they were last time they were in the Championship. I think they could be the leading team, and I think if the third team's Luton, I'm not sure they can do it again, what they've done. I'm not sure they can go again with the same group of players. So in terms of the three, if that was the three coming down, I'd only think one out of the three personally would be someone I'd stick my hat on to say, yeah, they'll definitely be in the mix, whether it's playoffs or automatic, because I think Burnley, they've recruited well in terms of young players, some quality players from UK and Europe, and I think they'll go again with Vincent Kompany. So on that side of it, I'm not so sure, but just basically reiterating what the lads have said, it's so different between the two clubs at this moment in time. So much positivity, lot to look forward to for the Borough, as Higgy said. Some good additions, possibly 4 or 5 good additions, can take them onto the next level. Sunderland, I think, just there's obviously going to be and needs to be some big decisions and changes there, and none more so than the manager. And until that's sorted, it's going to be an issue,
Isn't it amazing we're talking like this, because Borough and Sunderland, their season, it was similar right up until about the last 10 games, Daz, wasn't it? And now we're talking opposites, really, about both clubs.
Yeah. I mean, we've been more or less in kind of free fall, mate. We've nicked the odd result here and there, which has kind of kept us, teetering around the mid-table. But it's just the season's just fizzling out. There's no excitement, like you say. And I personally think if we'd have brought somebody in, and this is no disrespect to Dodgy, what I mean is, if the club want a new manager, if that's the direction they're going in, they should have brought somebody in. It would have given everybody a bit of a lift. It would have given players a bit of clarity. It would have given fans a bit of clarity. And then we may have been talking differently, mate, but that's not happened. And obviously it's ended up obviously in a situation where we could potentially finish 17th.
Daz, I'm going to ask you something there, Daz. I'm going to ask one question, Tiggy. Do you think there's a chance Doddsy will stay as the manager, head coach?
Do you know what, mate? I wouldn't be surprised. I really wouldn't be surprised, because
I wouldn't either.
Yeah, we've.
Do you think that's the way it's pointing? Do you think it's pointing at that?
I think it is, mate, because there's like I say, there's no clarity. There's nothing, mate. There's little rumours here and there. about different managers. Obviously, Paul Heckingbottom was top of the list, and then all of a sudden that's just completely gone quiet. You know, Will Still has now come out of nowhere because obviously he's left a club. You know, only for the fact he's probably left the club because prior to that there was no word of a manager. You know, you've got Defoe coming out basically saying obviously he'd love the job. Obviously, fans are then talk about obviously Kevin Phillips because obviously the Hartlepool situation. But there's no concrete thing, mate, that we're looking at anybody or this is the direction, and this is the problem.
There's smoke in the kitchen. The alarm may sound.
I think you're cooking some fire, Daz.
Who's that? You haven't left your chicken in the oven.
Dad's left his chips on.
I'm in the dining room. That's not me.
Hey, that's a very high tech and posh.
I hope it's not my house. I hope it's not my house. I'm in the front room. I could be. If I just suddenly stop speaking, lads, I'm a light.
Where's that come from?
It's one of you.
It's mine. It's from it's from mine. It's honestly. I'll tell you what. I've never cooked anything in my life. I couldn't cook a tin of baked beans.
Oh, brilliant! Hey, Clarky, that's a posh one. That one, mate.
Isn't it just? Unless you've got someone who's just broke in, Clarky, and they're having a fight in the kitchen. You can't get down to the West Wing to see them, can you?
Brilliant. Classic.
Sack the chef, mate. Sack the chef.
She was really posh, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was.
She just?
The next upgrade will be saying, Mr. Clark, there is smoke in your kitchen. In a Geordie voice as well, yeah.
Brilliant.
Love it.
Where were we? What we're talking about?
We were talking about
chickens.
Dodgy, weren't we?
Class.
Yeah, so...
But listen, if they were going to give him the job, though, surely they'd have done it by now, or do you think they're testing the water first?
I think
because they can't. I don't think they could possibly give it to him now after the end of the season Sunderland have had under him.
Yeah, I agree, mate. I honestly think
that he got some results, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, I was just going to say that, Clark. Yeah, I think they were hoping he probably got some results and then he could continue on. But I think and this is no disrespect to the guy. I don't think if they do keep him on, I don't think the Sunderland fans are going to be happy, mate, at all. For me, I think they want a fresh start. They want a fresh start. They want somebody in, who's new, who's going to instill obviously his way of managing, and I think that's what the fans as a whole want. They want the manager to be a manager now. I think they've tried and tested this, and it hasn't worked. Let's be honest, it hasn't worked.
I still don't think the manager will be the manager, though, Daz.
I don't think they will, mate. I don't think we'll ever get that, but I think they've got to bring somebody new in, mate. Because, no disrespect to him, but I don't think the fans will be happy.
Do you think there might be a problem with potential candidates, like we've talked about before, that are having to work with the current staff that are there?
Yeah,
I think that's a big problem, Clark. Yeah, I really do. I think that's a big issue. And you speak to people, and they're saying we want a new manager in, but we also want a fresh start. And for me, just bringing a manager in, working with certain, again, no disrespect to the guys who were there, it's got to be a fresh start. Because otherwise you're bringing in one new voice, but you've still got two other voices that you've been listening to all year.
Yeah. And how scary is it? Because you could end up with a new manager, but you lose your best players. Where does that leave Sunderland? So if the likes of Clark goes, where does that leave them?
It leaves them really, really looking around ASAP, mate, to recruit as quickly as possible. And it's got to be good recruitment because, as much as obviously, Clark's maybe been off towards the end of the season a little bit, and we had him out missing for a few games. He has been brilliant for us this year, and potentially you could lose more than just Clark. And this is the thing, mate. I don't think we're in a position to be able to lose players like that at this moment.
Well, if you finish 16th or 17th this season, and you're not that far away from the bottom three, and you lose your best players, that would put you over the summer in a really precarious position, wouldn't it? In terms of recruitment, do you then change your model to think, well, let's get some little bit older in, who know what it's all about, and will put us at least safe at first. Yeah. And then as we build, we can maybe add to that. Or do you think they'll stick to this tried and tested method of signing young kids with potential?
I think they'll stick to it if Speakman's still there, mate. I think it may have to change if he's not. For me, we've got some good young players, mate. Really, but I just feel there's got to be a mix. It's got to be a mix.
But lads, exactly. I was just going to say that. I was just going to say they don't have to change the model. They just have to tweak it a little bit.
Yeah.
Exactly. When you've got something, an idea, I get it, and they've done great with some of it at times. But just need, like you said, need to tweak it. Get a couple of good, experienced players. Not saying go and sign lads at the end of their career who are looking for a last payday or something like that. No, definitely not. No. Looking for experienced players who've been there, seen it, done it, and can still give something. And let's get it right. Sunderland can still be a big attraction for players to go and play there. 40,000 every week, great stadium, etc., etc. So, get those lads in. Just tweak what your thought process is. Not just throw it away, because there's been a bit of it. Keep wanting to bring and develop young players. I get that, but just tweak it a little bit. I think there's got to be a little bit of give and take. To be honest with you.
Definitely, you got to, I totally agree with you, mate. I don't think you need to fully change. You just need to tweak it in places. But again, we talked about, but this all should have been done. This all should have been done and dusted.
Yeah. Well, they're working. Like I say, they're either going to do it. The powers that be are going to make the decisions on the recruitment without a head coach or a manager being in, or they're going to be starting behind the other clubs, because if they're waiting to appoint a manager, unless they've got something up their sleeve where they get tomorrow's game out the way, then Sunday morning, bang, there's an announcement of a new manager.
But it has to be quick though, doesn't it, Clarky? They can't mess about and wait until a month into the summer and then say, we're going to have him, or that'd worry me.
No. Definitely, totally agree with you,
mate.
So what is it? What is the situation with Still then? Now he's left Reims. I mean, is there any chance that could come off?
There's a chance it could come off, mate. But I suppose you can't judge any manager until he's doing the job. And obviously a lot of fans don't want him. To be honest with you, they don't. They're not happy with where he's come from, the reasons why he's come, the reasons why he's in as a manager. But for me, I'll always on the side of caution and think, well, if he comes in, let's see what job he does. But I just know from the fans I've spoken to, that not a lot really kind of want him in place anyway.
Okay. There's a couple of messages coming in on WhatsApp. We're going to take a break shortly. Stu Goldie says, new chef wanted. Apparently, that's obviously for the Clark household. And he'd also like to know, does Lee know how to open a can of beans, let alone cook them? That's nice.
He used to open them with that wand of his.
And Ian James, he's a big Darlow fan. He's asking Darren, what are your thoughts on young Matty Young, the goalkeeper who did brilliantly for Darlow on loan this season?
I like him, mate. I actually like him. I think he's a good keeper. I think he's got potential. I think he's got potential to push Patter, in all honesty. And to be fair, he's done well for Darlow. I think getting him out and getting him game time and experience at that level is brilliant. And I think the future could be bright for the young lad. And hopefully he'll get some opportunities within the next year or so.
Yeah, I think he had the option, didn't he? He had the option.
I know Watto was impressed with him.
Yeah.
I know Watto was impressed with him. Very impressed. I think he'd love to have him back if there was any opportunity, any encouragement from Sunderland for him to go back there. But probably what he's done on his time at Darlington, they'll probably be looking, if they do loan him out, to go to a higher level, maybe. But I know Steve was really impressed with what he'd done.
Yeah.
Brilliant stuff. It is the three legends across the northeast on the Cat, the Red and the Toon. We're live on Facebook Live for each of the three radio stations' pages as well. You can get your messages in via Facebook Live or via the WhatsApp number 0330 043 2002. The lads will be right back to look ahead to the weekend. That's next.
Clark legend. Williams, legend. Hignett, legend. It's the three legends. WhatsApp us, call or send a voice message. We don't bite. 033 00 43 2002.
Right across the northeast, by the fans, for the fans. The Tune, the Red and the Cat.
Back to you, fellas.
Lads, obviously, just before we leave the championship, massive day tomorrow. Last game, last fixtures. As I said to you earlier, I was at Huddersfield, Birmingham last Saturday. Really poor game. Two teams that looked with a lot of fear in them. And what we talked about earlier in the season, and you touched on it as well, Higgy, when you mentioned about the Goldborough giveaway. A team that at Huddersfield at home, needing to win the game, didn't play with any intensity in the first half, rolling the ball out at the back and then giving it back to the keeper, passing across the back four. Birmingham just sitting off them, allowing them to do it and try and hit them on the counter. For 20 minutes in the second half, showed a bit of intensity, got an equaliser, could have got a winner, but ultimately the draw, not good enough. So that they're basically down, because I think it's something like a 15-goal swing.
It is, yeah.
That they've got to go to Ipswich and win, which, as I said to you, I cannot see that happening at all. I thought the quality, and then you've obviously got Birmingham tomorrow. If they were to lose, that down, and then there's other permutations if what happens. Even if the win, that could still go down. If the likes of Plymouth, Blackburn, and Sheffield all win their games as well. So it's an interesting one.
I can't see Sheffield not staying up, mate. To be honest, I think you're looking at the past results, mate, that they've had, and they finished the season off really strong. Really strong.
It's weird. It's weird how the games of the fixtures have panned out, isn't it? I mean, you've got obviously Leeds, Southampton. You've got Ipswich playing Huddersfield to basically put Huddersfield mathematically down and get the point they need. You've got Birmingham against Norwich. Norwich needing a point to confirm playoffs. You've got Plymouth fighting relegation against Hull, who can sneak in the back door of the playoffs. Blackburn going to Leicester. Or Leicester going to be in party mood, still celebrating, or they're going to look to try and get the 100-point barrier.
Yeah, West Brom play Preston as well, don't we?
West Brom Preston, West Brom Preston as well.
There's a bit on a few of them games, isn't there?
Absolutely.
There's a bit riding on them. I mean, how do you see? I mean, Birmingham being one of your former clubs, Clarky, how do you see them doing? Do you think they'll go? It's a tough one against Norwich.
I do.
But it is at home.
I do. I do think they can get the result, but I think the other teams can get the results as well. Plymouth just have to match the Birmingham result. Sheffield only need a point, and Blackburn only need a point. So I think it's a tough one. Norwich are in a good run of form as well in terms of their results.
Yeah, well, they're fairly safe, aren't they, in the playoffs?
Yeah, I think is it mathematically they still may need a point, because if Hull and West Brom want to win and they want to lose, they could take the last two spots. Is that right?
Yeah, but I think Hull have got to score 7 goals or something.
Is it a massive swing? Is it?
Yeah, Norwich's goal difference is 16, Hull's is 9.
Yeah.
So it's unlikely,
What we're thinking of the top 6 and the bottom 3 then, lads? Well, obviously the bottom 3, there's 2 gone already, so there's only one more place, and it's between Birmingham, Plymouth, Sheffield and Blackburn. I hope I'm wrong, but I think it's going to be my old club, Birmingham. But I hope I'm wrong, to be honest.
Well, listen, even if Birmingham draw and Plymouth, there's only 4 goals in that, but if Plymouth get beat 2-0 and Birmingham draw, they're still down. Do you know what I mean? So it's it's a big ask. It is a big ask, and it's got to be a win for Birmingham. They've got to win the game. There's no doubt about it. And even then, with Plymouth, even if they draw the game, there's every chance that they'll, unless they have a big win, Birmingham, there's every chance Plymouth will stay up. So it's a tough one for Birmingham, and I feel really sorry for Birmingham because of obviously what's happened and Tony and all that stuff that's gone on. Because I don't think they'd be there if Tony was. They were
on a great run. Tony had got them up and running, and they were starting to get a few results. And they were looking. They had a bit of momentum, and then obviously unfortunate situation with his, his health, etc.
Yeah.
And then obviously Mark took over, and Mark basically came out and said it was too big a job. It wasn't for him. They needed Tony around, and then obviously they went and called on Gary, with Gary's experience at the club already knowing about it. But just I wasn't greatly impressed by them either last week. I didn't think there was, I thought it was going to be full throttle between the two of them. I thought it was going to be blood and thunder, because obviously both desperate for the points, but it was quite lacklustre game. And whether that's the nerves took over, the fear factor of what could happen. But I think I'd love this to hope that it could prove us wrong and be safe, and one of the others unfortunately go. But I just think like you said, it's going to be a tough call for the playoffs, because I think we'll all agree about Ipswich getting the point they need to get promoted, don't we?
Yeah.
So that would leave Leeds, Southampton, Norwich, and then one of West Brom or Hull.
Yeah, I mean, even if Hull win, the goal difference with West Brom are on 20, Hull are only on 9. But so West Brom only need a draw, really. They've got Preston at home. You would expect them to get something there, wouldn't you?
And who would you be looking at to be successful in the playoffs? If that was if the four was it? Go on.
I'd want to say Leeds, but I don't think they will.
They're on a bad. They're not in great form, are they?
No, they've just had if you're looking at any of them there, it's maybe Southampton.
Yeah,
they've done the same as Leeds, haven't they? They had a brilliant run, and then sort of had a really poor run. So it's a tough one for me. It could be any of them four.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. That's why I was asking the question. I think it's a hard one to call.
Yeah, it is.
So who are we going to kill off then?
Leeds for a laugh. That's shocking. It's one of my former clubs, Leeds, and it's. But I mean, they have shot themselves in the foot. They've come with that brilliant run, got themselves in pole position, and then they just haven't seen it through.
As soon as they got to the top.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it's pressure, Dave. That's what happens. When you get within touching distance of doing what you want to do, pressure comes into play. It's the same with these teams who have a brilliant run, get on the edge of the playoffs, and then you see them lose games and lose games that they hadn't been doing. Yeah. And it's just because they are now. It's reality where they are. Do you know, when you're chasing something, it's always easier. When you're actually there and trying to stay there, it becomes harder because pressure becomes involved.
Yeah, tell you what, fellas, have you ever wanted to get your own back on a journo? Because Ian Murtaugh's on next, and he joins us now. You could ask him the same question. Which one are we going to put the mockers on, Ian?
Listen, it's been fascinating listening, because I've been picturing Clarky doing that run down the touchline when he saved Birmingham from relegation. Was it Paul Caddis scored the equaliser against
Steve Evans, wasn't he?
It was. Hey, Higgy, come on.
No, he was much more like David Pleat, Higgy. He was like David Pleat.
Oh, brilliant.
What's on the show, mate?
White shoes.
Listen, it's just a pity that that our two championship sides aren't involved tomorrow. But listen, I'm at Middlesbrough tomorrow, and in many respects, I wish I was at Sunderland, because Middlesbrough fans, they'll give them a great reception, win, lose, or draw tomorrow after the season they've had. Sunderland, I'm fascinated to see what the atmosphere is like. But I'll be asking the second guest of my programme. It's Matty Hewitt of the Northern Echo, who set up the We Are Sunderland website, which is one of the first in the country, one of the first newspaper websites specifically focused on one team. So we'll be talking about that. Now, my first guest is the second woman we've had on Black, White, Red All Over show this season. It's Vicky Sparks, who became the BBC's first ever female commentator to cover a World Cup back in 2018. I think she's best remembered for her commentary when the Lionesses won the European Championships a few years ago. So we'll be talking that. We'll also be talking the fact that in the Women's Championship next season, there's Newcastle, Sunderland and Durham ladies. But obviously she's a match of the day commentator as well, so we'll be talking about the weekend's games as well.
Cracking. Ian Murtaugh with you. Black and White and Red All Over. immediately after the legends decide it's time to go to the... I was going to say the bar, fellas, but that's a bit unfair. Higgy doesn't drink.
No, well, go to the kitchen then. Oh no, Clarky doesn't cook.
Can't go on Clarky's.
I'm not sure I want to do that, Higgy. I don't know what mine's going to be like when I walk in.
Surely it told you to put the bed down.
We've actually talked more about your kitchen, Clarky, than you have at Newcastle this weekend.
Haven't we?
I know. Well, I mentioned it earlier, lads, didn't I? We've got Burnley tomorrow. I mean, last weekend... the stuttering start first half against Sheffield United, but then they just blew them away second half. So a great win, but a real tough one tomorrow. We at Burnley. As I said, I think if you look over the fixtures of this season, I know Burnley, if you look at the stats and how many games they've won, drawn, lost, etc., they'll have a high number of losses, but I think they've always been in a lot of those games and played reasonably well. So, they're coming off the back of a decent result, so, they'll be thinking, can they get another 3 points at home? I certainly don't think it'll be easy for us. But if we could, because of Spurs' awful run at the minute, we're looking at that. I mean, the result last night, Chelsea winning, means they're now 2 points behind us, and we're 7 points behind Spurs with 4 to play. If we could take 12 points, who knows? I mean, Spurs have got to go at Anfield on Sunday, and depending on which Liverpool turn up, that their losing streak could continue. So, but I think it's going to be a real tough game for us tomorrow. I'd be delighted if we could come away with 3 points, but I think it's going to be a tough ask. I think Burnley fighting for their lives, and as I said, they've got some decent players when I've watched them, and I've seen them play, and the manager seems, he's trying to follow his fantastic playing career. He's doing lots of good things, and he looks like he's got them, trying to have a go, like we said earlier. They're trying to have a go about staying in the league,
Scoring lots of goals though, aren't you, Clarky?
Yeah, I mean, listen, Alexander Isak, mate, he's just getting better and better. He's compilation of goals, his finishes, his calmness is brilliant. Great to get Callum Wilson on the score sheet after coming back from his injury. He would love that as well,
wasn't it?
Yeah, it's good. I mean, there's talk that Fabian Schär, he's going to be out for the season. He's done his hammy, so that's going to be a bit of an issue. Emil Kraft might come in at centre half to partner Dan Burn, because obviously we've got Botman out and Lascelles out, or he could bring back the veteran Paul Dummett, but that would give you 2 left-sided centre backs, which is little bit, it gives you a bit unbalanced, doesn't it? So, but there's talk of Almiron, Joe Linton and Nick Pope potentially being involved again tomorrow. They've been back on the training pitch with the lads, so that would be a boost. Going into the last few fixtures, so which could be interesting, especially with the second last game being Old Trafford, Man United. So, and obviously we've had the news of Tonali just getting a suspended sentence this time for the latest breach. So he's going to, when his original ban runs till August, when that's over, he's back to playing. And Eddie was speaking this morning, saying it would be like having a new signing. It might work in Newcastle's and Tonali's favour. It's given him a chance to maybe assess what the Premier League's about, look at it from close quarters, and go from there.
Clarky, just with the Tonali thing quickly, do you think it's he's been affected by any of this, and his feeling towards the football club have changed? Or do you think Newcastle have been really positive with him and stuck with him?
I think it's come out really good. Eddie's mentioned today he took a voluntary pay cut, didn't he, from his salary, just in terms of to say sorry to Newcastle what had happened, etc. So I thought that's a great touch. That only came to the fore today as well.
Touch, yeah.
So
and
it shows that they've been looking after him. I think they've been really tight with him, because obviously we've got the mental health situation that can go with these things as well. So you've got to be careful what you do, but would be a positive thing for us next season, definitely.
Have we got
Right, score
all the predictions
predictions
done? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We've got a minute left.
Well, I'm going Borough
Go.
2-0 tomorrow, I think, and finish the season off brilliantly. Finish 8th. Happy days.
I'm going Newcastle.
Sunderland, I've got no chance. I don't know.
Yeah.
Newcastle,
I'm going to rattle
I
mine
think
off.
will win.
Newcastle 1-0 win. Sunderland 1-0 defeat. Borough 2-0 win. Sorry, Daz.
No worries, mate. No worries, pal. I'm going to go Middlesbrough 2-0. I'm going to go Newcastle 2-1 win, that is. And I'm going to go Sunderland 1-1.
Well, even you can't be
What's your
optimistic
other two,
this week,
Iggy?
Daz.
You missed out the Sunderland.
My other two, I mean,
Yeah.
Newcastle, I'm going to go 3-1. I think Newcastle win 3. I said 4-1, didn't I, last week? But 3-1. And then I think Sunderland, I think they're going to get beat 2-1.
All right. Cool. That's it, fellas. You're done and
Cheers,
dusted.
lads.
Lee, go and see if your kitchen's burnt down.
Thanks, lads. Have a
Cheers,
good
I've
one.
got some beans if you
lads.
want some,
Have a
mate.
good one.
See you later. Ta-ra.
See ya.
Yeah, fellas.
It's the three legends. Across the Northeast, Clark, legend. Williams, legend. Hignett, legend. WhatsAppers, call or send a voice message. Banter at its best. 033 00 43 2002.
Right across the northeast, the tune, the cat, and the red.